on television, you get, all the streams of drama are sponsored. So you will get a brand, I can't think who's doing sort of ITV drama at the moment, but, they will put their idents up against, stuff about the Yorkshire Ripper or, or the, there's that thing at the moment, it's actually BBC, isn't it? The thing about the East Anglia. A brand, it's kind of paradoxical, really, in that brands are prepared to kind of put themselves up against stuff in certain contexts, but when you actually go and when you go and pitch a particular project to a brand, they get very squeamish about these things. And I suppose it's about finding individuals and brands who've just got are more open-minded and have a certain vision about these things. But it's not easy, and it's a bit of a needle in a haystack, I would say.
And we've approached brands in the past, but there tend to be gatekeepers, and it's a shame we haven't got the guys from Mother here, because they are gatekeepers to a number of big brands. I think what we've come up against is that the gatekeepers are often very enthusiastic, but by the time you get through 30 levels of brand consultant through to the accounts guys through to whoever, the attitude of the brands can change quite rapidly. So when you can go in thinking that they're going to be supportive of your creative vision, but I guess for them it's a two-way street, that they've got to defend their brand or look after their brand. And if you are doing something that's dark or controversial, then they are going to be more reticent. I can't imagine what brand would have sponsored Four Lions as a film. Maybe there should have been some.
Would you as a director be comfortable with an association with the brand?
It really depends. I kind of worry about the whole ethos of using a brand, because using a brand, the brand and being independent, those two things are likely to come into conflict. And as a writer and a director, it would be really difficult to kind of work with a brand if they were going to kind of influence my independence creatively, I think. And I kind of worry about that. I think it's a bit of a shame that it's kind of that financing is moving towards that branding when. Because I think that creativity, can likely be eroded. I think that's a shame.
How does it sit with you in terms of this whole idea, getting into bed with brands?
I think it totally depends on the brand and what they want to get out of it. There was an article in the Yorkshire Evening Post after Red Riding stating that this was probably not something that was likely to be sponsored by Welcome to Yorkshire, who have put a lot of money into sponsoring Emmerdale. In fact, I think currently they've got a long-term contract as the channel sponsor for ITV3. Quite what the connection between ITV3 and Yorkshire is, I'm not sure, but it gets the message out there.
It's all murders, isn't it? It's all a detective series.
There's quite a lot of that, I think. Not my favourite channel. So, I think the flip side of that is that actually, from a financier's point of view, you're going in the same direction.
Mm-hmm.
If a brand is looking for access to product that has a defined market, and that it is going to achieve its stated aims by reaching that market, from our perspective, is the brand actually going to enhance the reach into that market, and so therefore increase the likely recoupment that we're going to get on our investment as well, because it will have increased the profile a limited degree, not an enormous degree. It's always going to be the content that creates the most profile. But actually, if the brand, through all the ancillary activity that it's creating, is increasing awareness of the product as well as of the brand, then it's a win-win from our perspective.
The only experience that we've had with it, when again this was indirect really, was sort of in the last century when we made Queer as Folk, and Beck's withdrew their sponsorship of that season because they didn't want association with, or I don't know whether it was the whole season, they withdrew the sponsorship from Queer as Folk because they didn't want to be associated with that. beyond that, it's not our business, it's the broadcasters that do those deals, although, interestingly, we've got a commission for Living, the Virgin Media channel, for a sort of supernatural drama, young skewing drama, that we're starting to explore those possibilities, but I don't know whether it's Virgin Media's in-house brand consultants that will do that deal, or whether we can do that direct. I'd be interested to speak to you later about that.
But was there like we say with the Bex issue, was there an impact? Was that was just a channel issue then?
Yeah, it was nothing that we had to deal with,
Yeah.
although it was slightly frustrating that what you thought would be a young, well, it's a German company, so
Right.
read into that one.
Right.
I guess that raises an interesting point actually as well, because if you're, as filmmakers, I mean, we're sort of sitting here, I've only come into the last bit of the conversation, but there's this sort of, we're here as filmmakers, there are brands over there, but in reality we deal with brands, we deal with brand identities on a daily basis as filmmakers, because the channels have brands and they are strong brands and they spend a lot of money creating, developing and building those brands. So there's already dialogue going on between us. I mean, most low budget films have a broadcaster supporting there in some form, and therefore you're dealing with the brand and its creative needs. It's just another step further to go to brands that aren't broadcasters. If we're talking about alternative models of financing and distribution, then I'd wonder whether giving them an equity position shifts the relationship between the brand and the producer, in as much as that if they're then looking for a monetary return, yet they're zapping there's no doubt they're zapping value out in terms of their brand, then why should they also look for an equity return as well? I'd see it more like a license fee. It's like I'd see the brands more like taking a position more like the broadcasters, where they should be they should be paying for content because that's what they need, and the upside, that's what they're paying for. That's their upside is increased brand awareness. If you put them into an equity position, I'd wonder whether, bearing in mind most films make a financial loss in terms of DVD, etc., then would you not be in danger of putting them off quite rapidly?
We're focusing on the commercial end of the market,
Yeah.
and the genres and specific titles that we hope will kind of break even. I know not an easy thing to do. So we're always kind of going in with hopefully the best bet of recouping money. I think the other thing to bear in mind is that in these deals we're putting together, yes, if the brand puts in equity, yes, they're getting value out, but besides the equity that they're putting in, there's always the assumption that when the film comes out, they'll also put some P&A spend around it as well. So, in effect, in the same way that the producer is going to kind of get a double benefit, they'll get the money to help make their film, and then they will get, because if a brand's put money in, they will want to advertise the fact that they're associated with it and drive that benefit. They'll put a second tranche of money in around the release. What we're saying is we don't think it's an inequitable position to recoup alongside the other investors who've also helped make the film possible, but also get the brand benefit from being in the film and also helping market it.
I'd almost look at flipping that around and saying that the financial success, except the number of bums on seats, should actually flip around. They should put more money in at that point rather than taking anything out. If your film is successful creatively and gets to people, then that's increasing their brand awareness, and it should be the other way around. The more awareness there is of the film, then the more money they should give you. So just flip it completely around. Just an idea.